how to network in CHH, how to build relationships in CHH, how to get more popping. We're gonna get into it. My man Range is gonna ask it with the most talented Patreon community in all the universe. Don't you go nowhere.
I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need a help. Ooh, I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need a help. Ooh, that's right. I don't need nothing else.
What's going on? It's Ruslan with KingsDreamENT.com. This channel exists to encourage and empower you to live God's dream for your life. Every Sunday night, I do a Zoom call with our Patreon community. We chop it up. We've actually been on here for about an hour now, chopping it up. They were actually here before me today, which is super duper cool. So we're going to be talking a little bit about networking, building relationships, all that kind of stuff. My boy Range, all the way from New York City, gonna pose the question with his specific way of asking it, man. Go ahead and just jump right into it, boss.
Hey, what's going on? I was wondering, based off of how far you've gotten in your career and the great relationships that you developed, I wanted to know what some tips you have are for us when we're trying to go out and venture out and build relationships with other people in the Christian hip hop genre, or just in general for whatever we're aspiring to do. What are some tips that you have? What are some do's and don'ts?
So good question, do's and don'ts. Okay, well, let me just give you guys a little bit of my backstory in the CHH space. And I guess I could open up with a little bit of scripture. Why not, right? We could open up with a little bit of scripture. So this is one of my favorite verses in the Proverbs. I'll pull it up here. And by the way, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And this verse kind of ties it in for me in a lot of different ways, right? This verse says, Proverbs 13:12, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. What the heck does that mean? Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Desiring something, hoping for something, aspiring for something, and it not happening, right? That relationship to work out, that business to thrive, that thing that you were hoping to get. When you're let down and there's an expectation and it's unmet, it creates frustration. Frustration can lead to anxiety, depression, all kinds of different things, right? And this specifically says hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life, a longing that you have of your heart, something that you want, that being fulfilled is a tree of life, a tree of life, a tree that's gonna grow, have deep roots. It's a good thing. So my backstory in CHH is I was making music on a local level, building relationships locally, and I thought that when I discovered all these other Christian rappers in 2008, 2009, 2010, I thought everybody was just gonna be friends. Like I was just like, yo, like, we all love Jesus, and it's lit, and wow, this is amazing. Kumbaya, let's lock arms, and everything out there was gonna be great, right? Now, what happened was is the more I got into it at the time, this is not so much now, but at the time range, is that I discovered that in CHH, there was a lot of different theological slants, right? And there were specific guys who had the right theology, who had the right framework, and those guys didn't really affiliate or associate with a lot of guys who had maybe different theology or phrases like, oh man, I don't know about his theology, or his theology is kind of suspect, right? It'd be stuff like that said, right? And I was one of those guys. I was from the West Coast, and we were just kind of viewed, because I come from Future Shock and a Tunnel Rap family, we just kind of viewed as like, oh, we don't know about his theology, right? We don't know what he about some sketchy stuff, right? And it's ironic because in hindsight, like I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I was married, I was like really on like trying to do my best to follow Jesus, you know what I mean? And I say all that to say I was let down, right? There was a hope, a longing that I had for community with all these other rappers and people I thought I had a lot of stuff in common with, and I was let down And it made my heart sick. It bummed me out. It made me sad, right? It made me frustrated with this community. And even Robert, and shout out to Robert, even we were talking offline, and he's like, can you tell me some positive things about CHH? Because sometimes I can sound like a bit of a Debbie Downer, right, when I'm talking about this. And it's because there was a lot of letdown and a lot of frustration. Unmet expectation leads to frustration, right? And that's a lot of what I experienced. So I want to start with the opening with that. Now, the climate was different back then. There was less rappers. There was less there was less people around. And so what I found to work for me at that time is the way I started building relationships is, first of all, I didn't try to build a relationship with somebody that was like way more established than I was, right? Meaning that like I'm trying to think like the first couple of relationships that really kind of moved the needle for me. It was early 2000s. I was throwing shows, and this is before this kind of shift in CHH. But early 2000s, I was throwing shows, and I would just bring out my favorite Christian artists, and by booking them for a show, by adding value to them, by bringing them out, I instantly had credibility with them. I made sure they got paid. I made sure they were taken care of. Hotel was booked. And so I was kind of like that guy in my local area who, whenever somebody had a tour, they knew they could hit me up, and I would get them a venue. I'd probably get them paid. If I was really a fan, or if they had a lot of ticket value, I would get tickets sold and make sure the room was full. And that is really how I got favor from a lot of guys early on, that then segued to my relationships growing. Specifically, one of my biggest influential relationships that we really became friends is my homie Braille, who was co-founder of Humble Beast, Beautiful Eulogy. He's a pastor now, but at the time, he pulled up. He wanted to throw some shows. He reached out to me. We built a relationship. He came by, used my studio, trying to add value. Booked him a show, just trying to add value. I was just trying to give. And it really got to the point where me and Braille became really good friends, to the point where he actually relocated to Southern California and like lived one exit down from me for a season, which was dope, right? And it was just because I was a genuine guy trying to add value, trying to build a relationship. And that was kind of the beginning of it. And there was a lot of things that like I benefited from that relationship tremendously. And then fast forward, around the same time, I started building a relationship with some of the Reach Records guys. Now, the way that relationship happened is that I didn't try to go directly to being Lecrae's homie, right? Or being Sho Baraka's homie. Sho Baraka was with Reach at the time. He's pretty popping. I built a good, amazing relationship with Wado. And Wado, at the time, was just getting off the ground. We did mixtapes together. We did a Breaks Over series together. And so because I built a relationship with Wado had relationships with everybody because of the Wado radio show. He was able to then introduce me because he could co-sign my character. He was able to introduce me. So I would say the first don't is stop thinking you're just gonna be friends with fill in the blank artist that has 25 times as many followers than you do that's way more popping. It's not gonna happen like that, right? Don't assume that. Build relationships with people that are more your peers and your equals, whether that's clout, numbers, whatever. And I know some of that stuff is kind of like, well, we're all brothers in Christ, and shouldn't we all just be homies and da-da-da-da? Yeah, not really. Everybody's busy. Everybody got families. Everybody got kids. Everybody's running businesses. And everybody dreams of being friends with Lecrae and Andy Mineo. And it's like, bro, like they got so many things going on. They're trying to keep some sense of normalcy. And the last thing they want is people that are like fans trying to be their friends. And if a friendship happens, it happens. But rule number one, try to be networking and building relationships with people who you're equals with, right? You're in the same area, because those people are gonna bubble up. Those people are gonna grow, right? If you genuinely like their music, don't worry about what their numbers are. Build with people that are where you're at, maybe a little bit further ahead, maybe a little bit getting off the ground, and help those people getting off the ground. And so I would say that. I would say the premise of the word networking, I just would take that word out of your vocabulary. You know what I'm saying? Don't make it so obvious about what you're trying to do. Don't say networking. Don't say, yo, can we build? Right? Because then it just seems like there's something attached to it. Just be present in the moment, right? So I would say that's the second thing. The third thing is I would go back to like add value. How can you add value? If somebody reaches out to me for a feature and they pay me my going rate and they go above and beyond, that person is instant, and the song is hot, like the song is fire. I'm a generous guy. I'm gonna do everything I can to try to get that person's song, and whether that's me putting a song, me making them a primary artist or whatever, right? So don't just send somebody a link on Instagram and assume they're gonna listen to it. That shows that you're entitled to their attention. Don't just assume somebody is gonna do a record for you for free. Ask them what their rate is, and if their rate is this much, don't haggle them, don't negotiate. Send them a couple options of the record, add value to them, and pay them what they're worth. And have faith that, if you are as dope as you think you are, your gift will make room for you, right? That's another proverb, your gift will make room for you. So I would say add value. That would be the third thing, is figure out how can you add value. With Shobaraka, when we first started building, one of the things he hit me up about was, I'm trying to do a show. We're trying to do a show in San Diego. Can we use your church? And I was like, possibly. Let me look into it. And so I had something that they needed. They had heard that I was throwing shows. They needed that. They reached out to me. And then when they came to San Diego, adding value. What did I do? I made sure I picked everybody up. I took everybody around. When they were shooting a video, I'd run and grab everybody in and out, pay for everybody's food. And then I would just pull up. I would pull up and it would be Lecrae and Tripoli and everybody. I would just pull up with a gang of in and out and just bless everybody, right? Because they're in a different mode, right? And again, this is 10 years ago, right? So this isn't, you're not gonna pull up and give Lecrae in and out today, right? He's in a different stratosphere. But it was a lot of those types of things that I was just present in the moment. I was trying to add value. I had already built amazing relationships with people that were, a bit more established, but they weren't like next level. So I had a reputation for being, like Braille would always tell people that Ruslan is a pillar in his community. He's a pillar in San Diego. Do people speak about you in that way in your local city? You know what I'm saying? Are you at the local events? Are you building with people who are in a similar place than you? Did they speak those words about you, or is it just like you're kind of on an opportunistic vibe, just trying to come up, haggle everybody for free feature? There's guys like that, and they quickly build a reputation, and that spreads like wildfire. And we avoid those people, right? And so, So in building relationships, adding value, I think is really important. And some people you can't add value to. Again, not a whole lot you could do for Andy Mineo right now. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't need anything from you. So don't try to build with Andy Mineo, right? Go make amazing art, and best believe that the Andys and the Lecraes are like freaking hawks, bro. They pay attention to everything. Like they pay attention, anybody that got a spark, like Lecrae's paying attention. He's really on it, you know what I mean? And that's why you see him always, lending his platform to people and stuff like that. So I think you got to know that, man, if you're dope, if you're fire, if you have good music, be patient, right? Be patient. Put in the work, network with people who are in similar places. If you want to reach out for a feature, but become correct. Don't do this like, what's your feature rate in 6 months from now? Don't nobody want to talk to you in 6 months from now. You know what I'm saying? If you want to do a feature, reach out with records ready to go in the chamber. You know what I'm saying? 2 or 3 options, your parts laid down, the songs are mixed, they're good, and then you send them over and you hope that they love the record enough to do the feature for it. And if they say I need $1,000, then you give them that $1,000 and you don't haggle. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like this is how these things go. And different people will rock with you in different ways. A guy like me will be like, yo, of course I'll do it. Like I'm doing a thing with Jamil. I had already had a record with Jamil called The Way that me, him, and DJ Break did. He reached out to me about another record, and we're like doing a little maxi single drop together because of him approaching me in a professional way and like us working on the record together. And I did co-production on it, and we're shooting a video for it, and we're dropping it as a joint single. And he was just trying to get a feature, but I went the extra mile because I messed with the kid. I think he's dope. And so there was something else I had, but does that make sense? I'm gonna pull you back up, Range. Is that some good stuff?
Yeah, definitely, totally. It was some funny stuff too, but yeah, it all makes sense. Honestly, it was a question that I had too. But when you said the thing about reaching out for $1,000, and I was like, geez, I wonder what artist is charging $1,000. Now, what do you do? Hold
on. Back up. There's artists right now, friends of mine, that are charging $2,500, $3,500 right now, right. And they're getting it. Yeah, so that's not on Christian rappers, Christian hip hop artists. They're getting it.
What do you do, right? So what do you do when, like, you have a specific budget, right? And say 2,500 isn't quite in that budget.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, you probably just wouldn't reach out to that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a specific budget, that's the part that's a little bit hard when you're trying to network with somebody and try to figure out what their prices are. You don't want to ask them what their prices are, and then it's a little high, and then you come off like, oh, you know, you're not trying to pay them. Because I don't feel that way. I don't feel like I believe that if you feel like you're worth 2,500, if I have it, I'm gonna give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't have it, I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, dang, that's a little too expensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so this is where I think a guy like Civ can actually really come up. So Civ did my last music video, right? He reached out and he killed it. He killed it on the video. We were friends, but I'm gonna pay my friends, right? I'm always gonna take care of my friends. We were friends, and he was like, "Yo, blah 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 blah," and I paid him, but I was like, "Bro, I want to go the extra mile. Let's do another record together." You know what I'm saying? And let me get you. And so basically what he did was he got paid to do a music video for me. Granted, it wasn't his going rate, right? But he got paid, okay. And he's getting a feature from me on top of that. And if the record is fire, I'll probably list him as a primary artist, and now he'll get a primary drop with me, because the way I view it is I never want to take more than I give. You know what I mean? So if I'm going to charge $2,500, I want to give you way more value than $2,500. I want to make sure you're going to make that $2,500 that back. That's just how I work. Everybody doesn't work the same way. Everybody doesn't think the same way. But that's my approach. And so I feel like out of that transaction, he's going to benefit more than I'm going to benefit. And that's ultimately what I want. I want everybody I come in contact with to feel like, wow, Ruslan went above and beyond and really took care of me. And I only paid this much and I got way more return. That is always my philosophy in terms of how I'm trying to do stuff. And so yeah, man. And so maybe you have a different skill. Maybe you have a different plug. Maybe you know the dude that's the local guy who flips shoes, and they've been looking for those Travis Scotts, and you pull up and drop the shoes on them because you got them at retail. Right, you got them at retail, and they really go for $700, resold. But you got them at retail because you got the plug, and you just dropped $1,000 pair of shoes on him, and you're giving him $1,000 for a verse. Right, wow. That's gonna. You see what I'm saying? So you just start thinking creatively, and what relationships, what resources, what access do you have? By and large, I don't think it's gonna be in anyone's benefit to reach out and pay $2,500 for a feature this early on. Right, you're gonna be way better doing features with people in a similar space than you and doing more of them, because people always think I'm going to do that one big record with that one big artist and I'm going to blow up. And it just never works out that way. Seldom does it work out that way. You know what I mean? So I think the value, the being genuine, being consistent, knowing that some people just, like, you're not going to be Lecrae's friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not. Like, it's just he already has his friends. You know what I'm saying? He has real friends in his real life, right? And here's another thing that gets really weird, and some people have done this to me, and it makes me uncomfortable, is if you do get to kick it with Lecrae, right? If you do get to, don't be a freaking fanboy. Like, don't be weird. Like, don't stop treating them like they're a celebrity. Celebrities don't like to be treated that way. You know what I'm saying? So if you do get to kick it with that person, just be cool. Like, just be cool. I've had people meet me that had no idea who I was prior to meeting me, but because I have a cool studio and because they know I'm getting money and because they know I'm successful, they start fanning out. And it makes me uncomfortable. And I'm just like, ugh, why'd you bring this person around? This is gross. Get away, right? Nobody wants to feel that way. So if you do get around somebody and you do get the opportunity to go hang out with Andy or whatever, the smooth, the cool, the normalcy you can have is dope. And don't go in for the ask upon the first interaction. Be confident enough that you are going to eventually see this person again. Be confident enough that you your gift is gonna make room for you, right? So when I met Jay-Z, guess what? I didn't go in for an ask. I didn't say, yo, Hov, listen to my mixtape. Ah! Right? I didn't do that. What did I do? I dapped him up, made some small talk. We chopped it up briefly, and it was cool. You know what I'm saying? When I met Kanye, the same thing. Like be cool. You know what I mean? Like don't be that guy. And so I think a lot of people are so insecure in themselves. They're so insecure on where they're at in their ability that they're just gonna shoot the shot. This is my one chance, dog. This is my one chance. I gotta, it's Hov, it's Lecrae. You just end up looking silly. You just end up looking goofy. You know what I mean? And it's probably because you haven't really put in the work. And I'm gonna preach for a minute. It's probably because you're incongruent and you know you really shouldn't be in that person's presence. So you're gonna take the freaking shortcut and ask for something that you got no business asking and act like a weirdo because you're incongruent with who you say you are and where you think you are with where you really are. You're not really there yet. You haven't really put in the 10,000 hours. You haven't really grinded. You haven't really endured adversity and struggle. And so you get into somebody's circle and you freak out and you go in for the ask. And then the person that brought you around feels weird and the whole situation's weird. And it's like, you did it, dog. Why did you have to do it, dog? That's my advice. YouTube, thank you for rocking with us. Listen, if you want to build some genuine relationship, hop into our Patreon community. That is probably the easiest way to get access to me, and all these guys will co-sign that. Those of you guys that really got your ish together, I'll be reaching out to y'all behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? We really be talking and I be doing what I can. You know, so if you guys want to be a part of this, the hop into Patreon. We're gonna keep the Zoom call going for a little bit. I'm gonna get off YouTube. Appreciate you.